Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and part 5 of the P1 Snap boat build. Very happy to say we are pretty well there to get this sucker in the water. So in this video, we are going to see it on the water for the first time. First time in my hands anyway, and we'll see how close to being actually set up correctly it actually is. So I never like to completely finish my builds before they go in the water in case I need to do any adjustments. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case here, but we shall see. So in the last video, we were pretty busy getting the last bits and pieces glued into this. I'm happy to report that off camera, I went ahead and finished that. Everything glued into place just like I wanted to, using that epoxy filler adhesive stuff. The battery trays and all that glued in really nicely. Once that was all done, I went back over the top of that with some more epoxy, and yeah, it's looking great. So I'll go ahead and pop the top and just show you the few bits and pieces we're going to be covering in the shop before we get this sucker on the water. So as we come over to the boat and have a look inside, we can see we got all these battery trays mounted up. Like I said, I just went ahead and used a bit of epoxy and went over the 6 standoffs on each side of the boat, and just made them just nice and strong. I don't want them coming loose, so there's nothing worse than I think this boat's running, boy, it's over a kilo on each side of batteries, and if I go for bigger batteries, then it's going to be even heavier. So if she's ever in rough water or anything like that, those battery trays are subjected to quite a lot of force, so we don't want any dramas there. I've got the receiver box installed up in here now. As you can see, that's exactly what I was going for. I've got easy access to everything, and yeah, we've got the antenna wire running up just to a nice short little stubby antenna mount here. You do have to get the antenna outside of the boat when you do a full carbon inlay, or you do run into interference problems. We've tightened up the motor now, so it's all perfectly aligned with the shaft. I'm happy to say that's all really nice there. Just currently gluing down the on-off button on the XLX2. We've run some of the pipelines. I need to just put a couple of little like clips so they don't blow off. We've just got to get some Scotch style Velcro to hold the ESC down onto the plate. I went ahead and installed all the wire sheathing just to make that a bit nicer. Really, the only last bits and pieces I really want to get done in here is I need to get myself just some sort of little teat cover for this, whether I end up just using a little bit of hose or something. I'm not sure yet. I'll come up with some sort of little idea. I would like to work out a way to get these hoses to stay running how I want them to be laid out. So ideally, I just really wanted just a nice, neat setup running down. Beyond that, still just got to put the last little bits and pieces on the rear end of the boat here. Sorry, looking through my tripod here. I need to go ahead and just get this cable ground down flat spots, and just trim up the hose on the back there, get them attached to the rudder. Final nut and bolt checks, make sure everything's tight. I went ahead and soldered up the batteries. I think I have showed these already. These are just some CNHL 65C4S 5000 milliamps. So I'll be running 2 of these on each side of the boat. I do have some 6000s here, which I initially wanted to run, but sadly, those will be perfect. That's exactly what I want to run, but I have to pick up another couple from, once they come back into stock, I'll grab another couple and I'll probably end up running on those, but this will be good enough. Bare minimum in my opinion for a boat this big. Alright, so went ahead and just finished up those couple of little bits and pieces. Put a few little sort of like, I call them butterfly clamps, and those to hold those hoses on nicely. Put just a bit of clear hose, again with another clamp And I'm just going to use a bit of Maury's, which is like a oil stabilizer. It's really thick, so that'll just drip down as necessary. Just seal the top with a little M4 screw. And yeah, that's pretty well takes care of inside. Poor man's method, just a couple of zip ties. I think that'll be ample just to get the ball rolling on this sucker. I've had these for a little while, but I thought I would show you the parallel adapters that I'm going to be using on the boat. One of these goes on each side of the ESC, and you can see there that takes two 4S batteries and doubles the capacity but keeps the voltage the same, and same on this side here. And then obviously in on the connections, this is a series connection, so we end up getting that 10,000 4S 4S turns into 10,000 8S when it connects to the ESC. So the last thing we need to do is get a prop ready for this boat. I know I mentioned those couple of other props that I had there, but I really don't think they're going to be suitable. So I have here an Octura X455. So it's a 55mm diameter prop, 1.4 pitch. I've already gone ahead and cut this side. You'll see I've detongued it heaps compared to this side. So we need to match the two sides. So I generally just either cut a piece of paper out that fits this profile, lay it in this side, draw the line and cut it out. Or you can make an imprint into some clay bar or something similar just to get the rough cut done. And then of course you end up with a very thick edge, and this is where the time consuming part is actually sharpening and balancing this sucker. So I am going to go ahead and get this sorted out. It's a very powerful boat, so it's going to need a solid prop to get going nicely. So yeah, I'll get into this and I'll show you perhaps a few of the stages as we go along. Like I said, this is stage one, where I just drew a line on one of these ears to the shape that I wanted and cut it out with a Dremel. Got to keep it wet, got to wear a mask. This is copper beryllium, so it's very, very toxic stuff. You don't want to be breathing it. And then, yeah, the next part is to obviously get that same cut and shape on this side. So, yeah, like I said, once I've got a few more bits and pieces tidied up on it, I will show you along the way. All right, so I'm just very, very roughly going to show you what I'm going to be doing to get this prop matched up. Cut a small square, get a little bit of a curve in it just to follow the barrel, okay? Cut the original, well, one side down, all right? Once you're happy with the shape, lay it on, trace out the edge, okay? And that's going to let you cut this side out and lay it on the other side to draw another mark. The other thing you can do here is with a bit of clay bar. It's pretty nice way to check it at the end just to make sure both sides are fitting in. Just basically coat the cut side of the blade that you're going to be imprinting with just a little bit of silicone oil, just so it doesn't stick to the clay. And that way, once you've cut it all up, you've got to do this on the edge of your bench. You know, I'll just move it so I can show you. Don't want to drop it. But you'll be able to lay the prop in to make sure it sits nicely in that profile once you cut the other side. It's a bit hard with one hand, sorry. So yeah, I'm going to cut this out and then mark the other side and then cut the other ear of the prop. And then, like I said, we can start matching it all up. Alright, so that's both sides of the prop cut down. Pretty happy with that for the rough cut. And then, like I said, we can sanity check our work with the imprint. So that sits down quite nicely into that, just like so. And then the other side. Now it's time to start sharpening this guy up and balancing it. So there's a few videos around, but long story short, you only ever sharpen the back side of the propeller, okay? You do not touch the front side of the propeller. You want to keep this a nice smooth finish. You can polish it, that's no problem. We'll do that at the end of the job. But yeah, you do not want to mess with the front side of the propeller too much. So, okie dokes. So I've got the first initial stages of the sharpening process done. You can see there we do not have as thick of a leading edge anymore. It doesn't need to be perfect at this stage. Alright, and basically the process is I like to use a Dremel, okay? It makes life a lot easier. Just hold it nice and vertical, and then you just make progressive sweeping passes, sweeping passes, sweeping pass, sweeping pass, and generally just try and keep the number of passes on each blade even. It's just going to help later on when we go to finally balance this sucker out, okay? So as you can see, I've just kept my work to the rear edge of the propeller. I'm not going to spend heaps of time on this, but like 8, 10, 12 hours is no problem, okay? I've probably got about an hour into this so far. Not even, probably 45 minutes, I would say. So that's that part there. Once we are happy with basically our rough cut, I've got multiple files, but a big boy like this is going to be your friend, okay? And you're going to be able to just make smooth passes, always downward, okay? Always downward. And you're going to be able to start smoothing and rounding in, because obviously up here is still quite thick, all right? And you want the prop as thin as possible, but thick enough to stay strong, all right? Once we've got it kind of looking pretty good, I've got some nice micro files like this, okay? That makes it a lot easier to get in and get the last bits of this done. And then once we're happy with that semi-rough in, that's when we're going to throw it on the actual prop balancer, and we'll get into that part there. So we've got a bit of clay stuck in there. All right, I'm going to keep going, guys. All right, so once again, this hasn't taken too long. I am just doing a rough one here at the minute. Initially got it, like I said, sharpened up on the edges, and then we go ahead, put it on the balancer. You mark the heavy side, okay, and then you just slowly go to town, spinning it, seeing where it wants to fall. So you can see I've already done a fair bit of work, so it's actually sitting, yeah, slightly heavy in that one place, but it's not like super dramatic. So as you can see, it's kind of falling in a couple of different places there. So overall, I'm just going to finish it off with a bit of sort of like, I don't know, 400 to 600 to 800 grit sandpaper on a nice smooth edge, and then just feed the prop across it just to really get that nice and polished and finished. And then, yeah, that'll be ready to rumble. All right, so we've got the prop installed now. Seems good. And you can see what I did here as well with the water pickup tubings. Just these springs you can purchase that run over the length. Just stops everything from kinking. So yeah, I'm going to charge up some packs, guys. And we'll go get this sucker in the water and see what it does. Alright, so we've just arrived down at the local spot here. It's a bit windy, unfortunately, so it is what it is, but I'm going to throw it in the water and see what happens. This numpty all the way up here decides to, oh yeah, we'll pull up, launch, and just leave the car parked in the boat ramp, as you do. Well, I can finally get to the boat ramp. I tried launching in off the little pontoon over there, but it's a bit heavy with such a heavy boat, so let's see what we can do. Trim around a bit, that's running pretty good right there. We are logging this. Seems to want to turn right on its own a bit there. Yeah, it darted right then. I wonder what's going on there. I think she might be riding a little bit A little bit wet there. This prop's working pretty smoothly though. Alright, I think I'm going to call that good there, guys. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll get it back and check the logs and see what she's doing. I'm just trying to see if water's coming out those pickups. That's hard to tell. Alright, let's bring that on back. Got to be happy with that for a first run. I don't know how long that was in the water for, a couple of minutes, and definitely getting some full throttle there. I think it's running a little bit wet. I think the turn fins are in the water a little bit too much. But it was definitely turning on its own a little bit, which was odd. Get you guys over the top. Let's see what we've got going on here. Oh, a little bit of smoke. It smells like grease though. Oh, the flex shaft's pretty warm. ESC, it's pretty warm too. And our motor's pretty warm too. So I'd be curious to see what the logs are reflecting and whether those water pickups are working correctly. But see if we can get a quick idea of what the packs are sitting at. 3.8 volts, so that was a full run. That was a full run. This one over here. Yeah, 3.8 volts, so maybe this prop's a little bit much for it. Hit something while it was out there, unfortunately. That's super frustrating. So I'm going to have to tidy the prop up a little bit more. Yeah, I'll show you. That's always super annoying on your first run to have a chunk out like that. So that's alright, I can clean that up though, that's fine. And we're going to have to look into why that rudder was moving a little bit. But the boat's pretty dry. I did just pop in a bit of foam around the hatch, a little bit down the back here, but I've got a feeling that's probably going to be coming through some of these nuts out the back. And yeah, other than that, I'd consider that a pretty successful maiden run, but I think she's over prop, guys, and definitely running too wet. So we'll get it back to the shop and see what the logs say. Alrighty, I just got back and I just noticed this, which was a bit of a eye-opener. Looks like the bushing has come separated from within the stinger here. So I think I'm going to need to use a bit of that adhesive compound that I was using on the flex shaft tube holder and stick that in. So I just wonder if that was contributing to why everything was sort of getting a bit hot, because that riding hard up there would not be doing any favours to the driveline whatsoever. So anyway, I'm going to pull it out and we'll have a look at what the logs say in a moment. Alright guys, well hopefully you can get a decent look at what I'm looking at. I don't have the ability to share this screen, so you just have to make do with what we've got.
So quickly looking here, we can see that we achieved 100% power out, which is great. It means the ESC is calibrated correctly. We hit a total of 34,100 RPM, so definitely not up to full speed in the boat. Not that we know how fast it was going, but I'll show something else on that shortly. A max volt current of 417 amps, so that's up there. But I'm just wondering if there was resistance on the drive line with what we saw with that that stinger bushing coming loose. Total temperature of 154 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just too hot. And what do we got here? Minimum battery voltage. Let's zoom in. 26.5 volts. So that's good. Those batteries are holding up nicely. I'm just going to clear up this a little bit. We'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of temperature. And what was the ripple? 1.15 volts of ripple. So that's excellent also. So we're going to zoom in on the log here. And again, let's just get rid of voltage. And we're just going to leave, and we'll get rid of current as well. So this is just the RPM and throttle in. Okay. So the black line is my throttle, and we can see the sharp line coming up. And as I get off the throttle, it drops straight down. But that line, the RPM line, is well looking to keep on going up. So I think the prop is too big, but we will continue to run it for now after I do a couple of adjustments to the boat. Mainly the big things I'm going to adjust are going to be getting these turn fins raised a bit more. I think they're dragging in the water too much. Definitely going to get that glued back in because yeah, it just slides back in with my fingernail there. So I'm going to pull that out, use some of that thread adhesive, and get that glued in better. And I think I'm going to actually raise the strut a millimeter. At the moment, it's quite level with the bottom of the hull. I think we need a little bit of nose up attitude. As it was, I was running the batteries all the way back. So the CG is, I was pretty happy with the CG. That was pretty good. It could come back a little bit more, I think. But for now, we'll just try raising the strut and see where it gets us. So look, all in all, couldn't really be happier with a maiden run with the boat. It went great. We're going to continue just adjusting a few bits and pieces before we go out again. I think that's enough for this series for the actual build. I will document the painting process as well, but that will just be a separate video altogether. So that really concludes the P1 Snap build. And lastly, I've got to make sure that the actual water pickups are working correctly, because this is the factory rudder still. I may upgrade it to something else to make sure I've got really good water cooling, because that could certainly be contributing to those high temps we saw on the ESC. So thanks for following along with the video, guys, and the series. It means a lot. I did hit 1,000 subscribers recently, so super stoked about that. It's just motivation to keep on going. So you're all awesome. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Later.